One thing that surprised me over the last few months is this. Life doesn't actually feel harder now I've made these changes. It feels easier. Not easy as in the sense there aren't any challenges. There's plenty of those. I still procrastinate sometimes. And I'm aware when I used to procrastinate, I still fancy comfort food when I'm stressed and tired after work, after I've come back from cycling, late in the evening. At 5:50 in the morning when I'm laying in bed and the alarm's gone off, I still try and reason with myself or negotiate with myself about, do I go cycling, do I stay in bed? That goes on for about 10 minutes. And I still do fancy a glass of wine or a beer, particularly when the football's on, or again after work when I'm tired. A nice glass of Rioja and some salted peanuts. But overall, life just feels easier to engage with. It's easier to get started with things. Staying focused is easier. Following through with things, with tasks, is a lot easier. I think a lot more clearly. And I seem to be dealing with stress without getting overwhelmed. And that last one is one of the biggest ones I've always had to deal with. I'm now filming this on a Friday afternoon, and this morning, up at 5:15, out on my bike at 6 o'clock, 90 minutes of cycling over Regent's Park, a coffee afterwards with my friends, got back, tidied the house, did a bit of ironing, did a bit of washing, edited my next 3 weeks of Instagram videos, and now filming this, having written the newsletter just now. And I might even head off into town to do some shopping a bit later. And what is interesting about all this, I don't feel rushed. I don't feel panicky. I don't feel overwhelmed. I have a list and there's just a sense that I have enough time, and there is enough time for me to complete everything I want to get done today. And that most definitely hasn't been the case for me in the past, because I always thought being healthier meant trying and pushing harder, becoming regimented and disciplined, sacrificing things that you enjoy, and having a constant mental battle to get things done. But honestly, I don't think anything like that has happened at all. I don't think I've become more disciplined. If anything, I think I'm forcing myself less and trying less hard to complete things. Yes, I have a notebook, I write things down, I have a task list, but there's less resistance in working through that list and completing it. And strangely, I'm now enjoying doing things I previously tried to avoid. At the same time, I'm more productive, I'm a lot more focused, I'm thinking better, more strategically. I feel like I have more mental flexibility, a lot less reactionary. Things still frustrate me, I'm a work in progress, but the frustration I used to get lasts moments, not hours or days. Even making decisions feels different. The thought process feels calmer, less panicky, and less last minute. I'd almost describe it as being a lot more leisurely, which seems a bit strange. There just feels like I have more mental space available to deal with everything. And that's certainly because I haven't suddenly developed more willpower. My nervous system is functioning better, and that's why. I think a lot of people assume they need more motivation, more discipline, better routines, better time management, but sometimes the real problem is just a lack of mental capacity. When your nervous system is overloaded, everything feels harder. Concentrating becomes harder, making decisions becomes harder, even working out where to start becomes harder and overwhelming. And you find yourself constantly trying to push through fatigue, override your stress response, relying on caffeine, sugar, stimulants, settling for it's just good enough, not achieving your potential, and being satisfied with just getting through the day. And eventually, this all starts to feel normal. It's that neuroplasticity, which I often talk about. You do these things, you do these behaviors often enough, long enough, it becomes your normal. Looking back, I think I was probably living like that without realizing it. And maybe that went on for years. When your nervous system is constantly stressed, your brain naturally shifts towards immediate comfort for security, quick relief, short-term thinking patterns, firefighting. That's why habits become ingrained, procrastination increases, cravings increase, long-term thinking becomes harder. Your system is prioritizing survival and regulation, not growth, not clarity, not thinking 6 months ahead, sometimes not even thinking past the next few hours. But when your nervous system becomes more regulated, something shifts. Your thinking becomes clearer, you have more patience, more emotional flexibility, and you stop feeling like you're constantly trying to catch up. Or worse than that, maybe feeling like you're never going to catch up. And this is probably the biggest shift I've noticed. I think a lot of people chase motivation and excitement, productivity hacks, quick flurries or bursts of energy. I certainly have never liked that, making hacks a way as a permanent way ahead for you. Hacks always feel like selling shortcuts. But what actually changes things is stability. Not massive highs, fewer lows, more consistency. And from consistency comes momentum. And eventually you start trusting yourself more again. And this is something I see regularly at Angel Chiropractic with my patients. Patients often become frustrated with themselves and they start to think that they lack motivation. They aren't disciplined enough and they can't stay consistent. But it's not about character at all. It's the fact that your nervous system is simply overloaded. And when this happens, energy fluctuates, sleep quality drops, the rehab exercises I give you feel frustrating, recovery then starts to slow down, stress tolerance reduces, and everything just feels harder and more pointless than it should be. Even the time commitment or financial commitment of seeing me can start to feel overwhelming when somebody is already being overwhelmed by their nervous system. One of the things I'm really keen at looking at with patients is heart rate variability. That is accompanied by a good conversation about your well-being and your lifestyle. Heart rate variability allows us to get an insight into how your autonomic nervous system is functioning and how well it adapts between stress, recovery, activation and calm. Because health isn't just about the symptoms that you have. It's also about how adaptable your systems are, how well you recover, and how much physical and mental capacity you have day to day. When your system becomes calmer and more regulated, you will notice things. Better sleep, even more steady energy, improved focus, greater physical and emotional resilience. And not because you're trying harder, but because your body's functioning better and you've increased your capacity. One important thing to remember is this takes time. And we live in a world of instant dopamine, doom scrolling, instant energy, instant results. And this really contrasts with how your nervous system changes. Your nervous system takes time to change, and long-term healing happens gradually. There is no hack for long-term healing. You make a small change, you feel the benefit. You repeat it, and over time, your body starts learning. It learns that it feels safer, and this feels better. And this is where the changes happen. Not through a huge effort, but through small things repeated consistently over time. One final thought, And for me, this is probably the biggest shift of all, and not about becoming obsessed with productivity and not becoming some ultra disciplined version of myself. It's just about feeling calmer, feeling clearer, feeling more capable, and feeling more consistent, and having more emotional capacity and emotional availability. And when this happens, everything else starts to feel easier too.